Hello friends, welcome to the Paradigm of Nutrition. Today, the topic is cellular architecture. This is the topic I really want to share with you for a long time. The reason is we are now facing the risk of the resources limitation, right? In the planet, we only have one planet, but we have growth of population for such a long time. And then a lot of people are taking care of the animals, they pay attention to the animal welfare. And of course, the resources, the limitations, and also the food safety are the big concerns so far. So you see that right now we are getting the milk, we are getting the egg, we're getting the meat from the animals, right? So we're raising the milk cows, we're raising those cows and sheep for the meat, and also the chicken, the hens, and for the egg purpose. So while raising those animals, or breeding those animals, it's causing a lot of resources. It's causing the pollution to the air, right? The footprint of carbon are really high. So now, what is the most sustainable energy that we should focus? What is the sustainable future for us, for the humankind? Is actually using the cell, because we know the cell in the body is actually the individual factory that's producing the energies, right? So we're going to use that cell to produce the DNA and the proteins that what we want, and use that to engineer the food in the future. So you can see that in the future we are totally structure the different way to making the food supply. So now people may think about, okay, so we already have it. We already have what? We already have the plant protein. The plant protein can mimic the animal protein, right? If we're thinking to replace the alternative of the milk of the animal protein, we have a plant protein. But the problem is the plant protein only can solve one or two issues. They cannot give you the holistic solutions, right? So you typically have a challenge of flavor, you have a challenge of texture, mouthfeel, and also the nutritional functionalities, right? So those, if you know a friend who is working in the food industry, nutrition industry, they may telling you, well, those plant protein cannot really solving everything. They can only mimic one or two, not everything. Okay, so then we talk about what is the solution. The ultimate solution is the cell factory, right? So that's what we're talking about. So how do we do that? It's typically using the large-scale fermentation. So why we call it large-scale fermentation? Because you see that what we're using, the fermentation, is the cells. It's a microorganism, right? So we're talking about the bacteria, we're talking about the yeast. We all know those little bugs. Those little bugs grow so quickly, and they are cheap to make, right? So that's why we use those as a place to grow those, to manufacture the proteins, and that's the most economic way to do. Okay, so you may say, okay, this is for future, right? But actually, among us, most of the people, we don't realize it's already there. It's ubiquitous here for a long time. For example, insulin, right? We know the insulin. The type 2 diabetes people has to inject insulin to solve, even though if you listen to about our previous videos, we don't recommend to do that. But insulin has been produced in this way. Otherwise, you cannot get it. It's if you get it from a cow or get it from a pig, that's actually causing a lot of issue. And the antibodies that from the different species to the human body will cause the issue. So by doing this is totally safe, okay? And enzyme, right? So enzyme, we cannot live without enzyme because we use enzyme to ferment, to get a beer, get a wine. We also use enzyme like rennet to make cheese, right? And of course, bread, you use the yeast, and you use the enzyme to break down starches. So that's all the enzyme we are having. They are actually using this fermentation technologies. What about cosmetics? So the beauty industry using this fermentation as a way to proliferate the margins, right? So one brand in Japan is selling really expensive because of its fermentation benefits. And of course, the bioenergy, the biofuels, those are the important things. We can convert the biomass into the biofuel to fuel our the cars, fuel our life. So that's the biofuels. What we already have here can totally transfer into this cell factory to making the real proteins that what we may need for the future. So this is a way that the diagram that I want to show you in the 5 steps, simply to show you how to realize, how to make it happen. So you have this DNA from cow, which you want, and then you insert into the microorganism to the or the yeast to proliferate, to grow, and then you getting into the genome, and then getting the proteins you want, and then you separate or express out. That's what you want to have these proteins. So then you separate, you purify those proteins, and then those proteins can be used either as an enzyme or used to making those the egg, the milk, and also the meat. So those are the simple things I have tried to explain to you. But I want to quote one thing: is we have to prepare the future where the scientist is as important as the farmers. Thank you.